Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining everybody for another Tuesday discussion. Here on Tuesdays, we do like to do video responses to questions and comments we're either getting on Instagram, YouTube, or from our wonderful Patreon community. Thank you so much for all the support. Now, today's question, I'm going to bend the rules a little bit here, combine a few questions together. Some of them just weren't substantial enough for the content for a whole video. But with that in mind, the main question that we will cover today is going to be recommendations for 2024 releases that cost under $70. Now, this is where I really did bend the rules because he really asked me under $60, and I couldn't find enough things to recommend for a whole list, especially considering I'm trying to think about what's available maybe across the countries, across different states, and trying to hit upon at least one recommendation that should be available in most areas. So I did raise that up to 70, but ultimately just trying to figure out what are some good releases from 2024 that also don't entirely blow up a budget. Don't recommend anything to me that, is $100, $150. That's not going to work. $70 or less. So thank you for joining today, whiskey friends. Let's kick off the show. All right. Now, as mentioned off the top, I did combine this with some other questions I got that I felt were just more one-off questions, but worked overall when it comes to prices and what I purchase. So I'm going to lead off with those questions and then we'll get into the list here. So the first question that I did get was essentially, what's the average price that I typically pay for a bottle in 2024? I think a lot of the times, and I get this in the comments too, I feel like there's a perception that we're constantly spending over $100 on bottles. And that might be rarer than you think. So I did want to show these stats here. The average price, at least for me personally, on the 42 bottles that I bought and reviewed, the average price was $86, and you can see the distribution there on the left. Now, 6 of them were $50 or less, so I don't dabble in that price point very often. That's mostly because new things don't necessarily always come out at that price point. It's a lot of the more legacy releases that have been on the shelf for a while. Most of the bottles, though, you can see it all clustering there. 17 bottles between 51 and 80, 12 bottles between 81 and $100. That's where I concentrate. Now, when it comes to the expensive bottles, I only dabbled outside those lines 3 times above 150. One was Bardstown Amroot, one of my pours of the year. The other one was the Kelvin Collaboration 6 from Foregate, another one of my favorite bourbons of the year. And then the new Riff Headliner, which half of the cost of that one actually went to charity, so I try to justify it in my mind. It was a very expensive bottle, though. But I don't dabble out of that very often. I've gotten real price sensitive. Relative to my own budget and what I'm willing to spend, I have become price sensitive over the course of 2024, especially considering that I continue to find such amazing whiskeys, especially between $70 and $90. The other question I got was, does the channel itself change my buying habits? And the answer on that one is no. I buy what I buy. I was doing this before the channel. That is why there are 400 bottles floating around this basement right now. I love trying new things. I love getting deeper and deeper into different states, into different distilleries, especially as we have so many distilleries coming of age recently. I just love exploring more and more. For the most part, when it comes to any bottle that I buy, I probably only drink about a fourth of it myself, and then I try to share the rest away. Essentially, I drink enough to do the review, learn about it, learn the profile, get some mental notes if it pops up in a blind, and then I move on to the next new thing. And that's why there's a new release, a new review from me every single week. It's because every single week I want to try out something new. So now with that in mind, I'm going to go through some brands here that I am going to recommend that are releasing good whiskeys in 2024 under $70. Now, all of these that I'm going to highlight, you'll find individual reviews on the channel for nearly all of these. I might be actually getting ahead of some of the reviews that'll be coming out in the following weeks, but you'll get the point. First off, want to highlight New Riff, especially in 2024. They have been killing it with new releases. Now, my favorite is the 8-year bourbon. At least what I think is going to be the most accessible to others. I did rate the sherry finish malted rye higher than I did the 8-year bourbon, but I know between it being malted rye and it being sherry finished, that might be just too far out for some people. But love all of the standard releases that came out from New Riff. Also, like the 8-year rye, if you dabble in ryes, I would recommend all of these if you find them in your area. And strangely, just before I started recording this, I had a whiskey friend down in Georgia say, Up, New Riff 8-year, it's now in Georgia. Now let me see if all that hype that you've been saying is worth it. So keep me posted on that, buddy. I'm implying that you're going to be watching this. So then next up here, let's go to the next brand. Now we have Old Dominick. So this is going to be a distillery that we visited earlier this year when we got to do a barrel pick, not of their own stuff. We were one of the last groups to do one of their picks of the MGP that they had sourced, but they were in the transition to their own distillate over this course in time. They let us try this cast strength 6-year product. Oh my gosh, it is so good. So the one I have in my hand is 121 proof, 6 years old. We are all big fans of this on the channel. And I've also been seeing more and more people put single barrels out. So I'm very interested in trying Old Dominick's Old Distillate and getting to know the various levels of their flavor profile. Now, for me, what emerges from this particular bottle is essentially a combination of either a raisin brand, or those raisins could even be just dark, dry cherries that come through. Love it, love it, love it. And Darrell and Kelsey are even higher on it than I am. And you can hear what I'm saying. Let's go to the next brand. I could spend a lot of time talking about this next brand, Green River. Wow, have they had one heck of a good year. Now, what sticks out to me is the rye. Now, a lot of people have hyped up that foolproof bourbon release. That's around $50. Durrell was real high on that. I was just okay on that. I'd rather just pay up for single barrels of the Green River bourbon rather than the $50 foolproof. It's good. It just didn't blow me away like some other people. What did blow me away was the rye, even at 95 proof. This one was crazy good, and I especially love the cherry notes that I get off of it. Also got a sneak preview of some cast strength rye recently. So we are in for some more treats from Green River before this year is up, as more cast strength rye hopefully drops in 2024. So keep an eye out on Green River. They are such an exciting distillery. I really can't wait to keep following them over the next couple of years. Let's go to the next brand. This next one was a big surprise for me, and also a distillery that has come out with a few things this year. But the one I'm going to recommend is the Knob Creek Bourbon Rye Blend. Keep an eye out for this one. I recommend this one over the 10-year rye even. So this is a blend of 9-year bourbon, 7-year rye, 30% of his bourbon, 70% of his rye. Though, frankly, with their mash bills, I mean, we're still talking about something that's, got quite a bit of corn in it for something that's predominantly rye. 113 proof, and oh man, I love it. It's got these shades of apple pie, a very spiced up apple pie too, with a dollop of vanilla ice cream next to it. Just lots of vanilla, cinnamon, caramel, apple, all those type of things. And then you start getting that Knob Creek nuttiness towards the finish too. And it's got quite a bit of a barrel influence going on too. So it feels that age of being, essentially 7 to 9 years old. So if you're looking for something Knob Creek, this is the release I would go with in 2024. Let's go to the last one. And the last brand on the list today is going to be Hard Truth. Now, there are two releases that emerged for me from Hard Truth this year. They did release a bunch of other bourbon releases as well. Amongst those bourbon releases, I really enjoy the 4-grain bourbon. Now, this is a bottle and bond release, sitting there at, I think it was 5 years. Yep, 5 years old. Now, this one's a 4-grain bourbon, which gives it a totally different profile here. I actually poured a little bit out here to do a little sip on it. But the thing that always sticks out to me with Hard Truth, the Hard Truth rye, and now venturing into the bourbon, is the fruit flavors that come off of Hard Truth are so unique. And what really blew me away is during a tour at Hard Truth, they let us taste some of their distillate straight off the still, and those fruit flavors were there from the start. The White Dog essentially almost had a crunch berries flavor to it that really drove us nuts. So cheers, everybody. Oh, man. Yeah, so much cereal flavors again. Cereal is going to be the main thing that comes across there. It is like rolling up on a Saturday as a kid, getting ready to watch Saturday morning cartoons. Oh, that is just all there. All the nostalgia is there in this 4-grain bourbon. And then the other one to keep an eye out on too, they have these releases coming out in a collaboration with John Mellencamp Company and Mellencamp Whiskey Company. And these have been coming out essentially each season, different mash bills, different finishes. This one was the Farmer's Reserve. I was really impressed with this one. This one was finished in Amburana. And boy, did I love this one. I don't think it was anything else. Oh, yeah. The other thing was it was a blend of their chocolate malt and their sweet mash bourbon. So it's a boo rye. The rye side of it's their chocolate malted rye. And then they finished it in Amburana. Oh, man. Delicious, delicious bottle. If you do see this one and you like Amburana too, this is one to give a chance on, especially if you've not had, or even if you have had, the chocolate malted rye from Hard Truth. You're in for a surprise, let me tell you. So there are some whiskeys out there, all of them under $70 that are worth dabbling into. The cheapest one on this list was $35. The most expensive was right at 70 or 69, however you want to classify that. So those are some things you can look into if those match your budget more often. Now, I will say, at least when it comes to exclusively, in my mind, new releases from 2024, the price points on these, the best chance that I've had is between $70 and $90, finding really, really great whiskey and really, really great single barrels. It still exists underneath $70. And I gave you some examples here, but less plentiful than what I've seen at other price points. That's just the way the market is right now. If you're looking to keep up with new releases, if you don't have an interest in keeping up with new releases and you just want to know the best values on the shelf today, that would be a different video, a different context for the question. And we've done that a few other times, but if someone's interested in hearing about that, I can tackle that as well. So thank you for joining today, Whiskey Friends. Once again, let me know in the comments if you have any questions or comments stemming from this video, and we'll catch you on the next Tuesday discussion. Goodbye, everybody.
Jeff, just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you say hello again. Oh, Jeffrey, you should just be friends with me. But you have these whiskey friends, and you